Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some of my old writing and embarrassing myself for the purpose of entertainment. So I have some old writing here in my Google Docs from a few years ago, not crazy old, from like childhood old, although I do have writing that is that old, and I want to do a separate video on that if this is well received, because I think that's the main part that's funny and fun, is like really old writing. But at my apartment I do not have it. It is back at my parents' house, and so instead I thought I would just read some of my old writing from only a few years ago. So maybe not necessarily that bad. This isn't going to be as embarrassing, but I just thought it'd be kind of cool. I asked you guys if that was something you'd be interested in, and a lot of you said yes. So here we are. I haven't actually looked through these in a while, so I don't know what they are, what's in them, how well written they are. A lot of these are not edited excerpts of random things that I stopped writing a long time ago. I have some short stories, poems. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I thought it'd be kind of fun. And again, if you guys like this, or go ahead and comment down below if you want to see a part 2 to this where I read old embarrassing writing from middle school, high school, angsty time. I don't know how this is gonna go. I really don't. Also, I feel like I'm not very good at reading writing out loud, if that makes sense. I feel like it's so much better to read it yourself, but obviously I cannot do that, and so this will also be my attempt at reading aloud my writing, which also nobody has seen any of this. I think Gavin might be the only person who has ever read some of these things. So, I don't know what I'm thinking. Why am I doing this? It's not even that it's embarrassing. I don't know how this is gonna work or how it's gonna come across. So we'll see. So I guess we'll start maybe with a poem or two. I have 2 poems on here. I don't really write as many poems anymore. I used to write a lot of poems in like middle school, high school. So these 2 are actually from that older Adele era. Okay, so I have this one. I think I was 14 when I wrote it. So, and I actually like it. So, a little bit of background. I have these 2 poems here. Both, I think one of them I wrote when I was 14 and the other one I wrote when I was 15. And I actually like them. I think they are good. And I originally wrote them on paper, and the only reason they're on my Google Docs right now is because I submitted these to a like literary journal that was taking submissions. They were both rejected, so I have not actually mentioned that. Again, Gavin is the only one who knows these things, but so I guess that's that, but you know, rejection is normal and a part of a writer's life, so I am mentioning it because it's good to be open and honest about these things, as much as I am dying inside at the fact that I just told you guys that. Either way, I still think they're good, so take what you will. Okay, so this one is when I was 14. It is called Cardinal, and I don't know, it's not rhyming. It's not like a rhyming poem, because surprise, you don't need to rhyme to be a poem. So, Cardinal by me. Your song envelops the milky air, your fire of a plumage captivates. Is it plumage or I don't know how to pronounce words. Okay, I've always said it. Pronunciation. I've always said it plumage in my head, but I feel like that's wrong.
Plumage.
Plumage. I'm fine. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's start over. Your song envelops the milky air, your fire of a plumage captivates, and the fence on which you stand is a throne. The small backyard, your kingdom. With your fiery lyrics you bite, yet none have seen a better ruler. Your crown sits high atop your head, and your cloak is your individuality. They aspire to be you, yet no one is. None can define cardinal but you. And it's formatted, I don't know, it's hard with poems because you can like format them differently, you know, they have like the stanzas and how things are can kind of change the pacing and the rhythm of a poem. Alright, one down. That wasn't as bad as I thought. Okay, this one is when I was 15 and it is called Bitter Drink. Now we're getting into angsty Adele, who had just gotten over a boy that she really liked. Or I guess not gotten over, but was still very much not over. Bitter drink. And as you place that bottle to your lips, I hope your mind is flooded with memories of us, and the image of my face when you told me you loved her is permanently branded on the back of your eyelids. Quite short, quite angsty, and I still like it. Okay, anyway, I feel super weird sharing all my writing like this. This is weird, especially ones that are like, haha, not cringy, not embarrassing, but like actual things that I like. Is this an ego trip? I don't know. So those are the only 2 poems I'm going to be reading, because again, I had them on here because I submitted them and they were rejected, as I've already mentioned. I have this short story. Wow, we're just going over all of my rejections today, aren't we? I have a short story here that I wrote recently. It is very much unlike what I normally write. The style is so different, and it's the point of view is different. It's all very different. I still like it. Again, I submitted it and it was rejected. I promise I'm a good writer. It's 4 pages double spaced, but I don't really know how long that's going to take to read, like in this situation. And I don't really want to just sit here and like read a whole story to you, if that makes sense. So maybe I'll just read like the first few paragraphs. Again, very different. It's written in the point of view of a child, and I kind of write it in a different sort of style to where it's really like fun, it feels young, and it feels innocent, which I had never written before, and so it was a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it was really fun to write, and I really like it. So I'll just read the first few paragraphs. It's called The Friend in the Garden, and here we go. The glass was cool against Ella's nose as she breathed softly, exhaling warm hair that fogged the area around her nose in a cloud. She watched the gray fade away, leaving small beads of condensation on the clear surface as she idly drew fingers in the dust on the windowsill. Leaning forward, she gently touched her forehead to the glass, shivering inwardly at the cold and instinctively wrapping her slender arms around her. The rain had stopped, leaving a somber landscape shrouded in gray in its wake. She had taken to observing a race between 2 thin rivulets of water that made their way slowly down the glass, pausing occasionally before continuing their journey, only to pause again, when the unmistakable flick of sandy brown caught her attention by the garden wall not far from her perch beside the window. She breathed in sharply, her small fingers pausing their movements to grip the windowsill tightly, and her eyes widened as the familiar cat reappeared to perch on the stone ledge. She hesitated, drawing in a shallow breath before reaching her finger out to tap the window gently in hopes that the animal could hear her inward pleas. Green eyes had just met hers when a cold, thick hand gripped her arm and sharply pulled her away from her position on the window seat. I'll just leave it there for now. I like it. It's fun. Very different, very innocent and lighthearted and like naive in a way. I have another book that I started writing. I could read the beginning of it. It is untitled. It doesn't have a name. I only maybe got like 2 chapters in, and I have thought about like working on it again because I do like it, but I wonder if there's a way, since it's on Google Docs, you can see all the edits and stuff like that. I want to see when I very first wrote it. It was back in 2017. No, that's not right. I thought I wrote it way earlier than that. Well, it's saying 2017, February of 2017, but I think that might be wrong. Anyway, so I will just go ahead and read the first few paragraphs of this, just because. Also, I do this thing sometimes where when I write, or at least when I first start writing a book, I like think about it as if it were a movie. And I've attempted writing screenplays before. They weren't very good, but I really like seeing things as if they were a movie. And so like with this one, for this beginning thing, I have the scene of like the opening credits and kind of like what it looks like, and it's like dark in a forest and stuff like that, and anyway, stuff like that. And I also have a song for the opening scene if you want to listen to it, interactive experience. But it's Holiest by Glass Animals. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that's the song that I had in my head while I was starting to write this. Anyway, I'm gonna just start reading it. I don't remember much of that night. I was running. The wind The wind whipped my hair into my face as I struggled for air. I had never run this fast before. It was freeing. I felt like I could run to the ends of the earth. My legs were numb. My face was numb. I was cold, and I couldn't stop my legs. I couldn't stop this ever-present rush of adrenaline that forced its way into my bloodstream and took over my senses. Kind of a weak first paragraph, I would say. I was kind of trying something new. It's written in first person, which I have kind of strayed away from recently, and so I don't know. It sounds weird to me. That sounds weird. Oh goodness. First draft though, blame it on that. I knew they weren't far behind. I had led them on this chase, winding through the sparse trees that dotted this rural area on the outskirts of the city. I could hear them yelling, demanding me to stop and assuring me they would use force. They were gaining on me. My legs were giving out. I risked a glance over my shoulder and found 2 able-bodied guards in pursuit, their heavy breath evident in the chilly air. My own mouth was hurting from taking in too much cold air at a time, and pain erupted in the back of my throat with every sharp intake. I didn't want to stop the chase and accept defeat, but I could see the chasm with its picture-perfect waterfall racing closer and closer to me as I gained speed. No man's land. End of the line. With a deep breath, I came to a stop, my legs still taking a few steps to grow accustomed to the sudden lack of velocity carrying me forward. I turned to face the guards, my hands above me, and thick air escaping my lips in a wheeze. I guess I'll just stop there. I don't know. It starts dialogue and stuff, and I don't know how to... It's weird. I don't know how to, read my writing and, make it sound good, I guess. This is also the first time I'm reading this out loud, and I've always heard you can, when you read it out loud, you can catch a lot more problems, and I just caught a lot of problems with that, so... I also have 2 documents, one titled Dystopian Edited 2, and one Dystopian Edited Current, so I guess we'll figure out which is which. Okay, I think Dystopian Edited Current is the current one. This is a novel, again, the bare beginnings of a novel idea that I had a while ago. This one was first started also in 2017, but I feel like that's a lie. I don't know. I don't remember if I transferred these over because I have a bunch of old writing on an old computer from a long time ago, and I transferred some of them over here, so I don't know if that's what this is and the other one, but I don't know. Maybe it was 2017. Alright. We're just gonna get into it. Of one thing I was certain, I was alive. Quick side note, that line reminds me of the first line of Twilight, which I don't remember exactly from memory, but I know it had that sort of one thing I was certain sort of vibe. I'm gonna look it up, because I think that sounds familiar. Okay, yeah, it's kind of similar. It's about 3 things I was absolutely positive. Kind of similar. I don't know why that sounded familiar to me. I don't know how I remembered that. Okay, back to reading. I was cold. Too cold. Very descriptive. I could feel the blood slowly make its way to my fingers, and they curled and uncurled as goosebumps rose on my arms. My limbs refused to move as I struggled to open my eyes, accomplishing only the frantic flutter of eyelids before they suddenly opened wide. I felt heavy, my body nothing but a dead weight that could barely support my own weight. I had an almost tangible feeling of being contained in a very small space. I realized suddenly that I was standing, my covered feet elevated by suspended stirrups that allowed my legs to swing back and forth within my limited space. I paused my inward struggle and willed my senses to come within my reach. My brain felt unnatural in my head, throbbing and unresponsive as if just waking from a prolonged slumber. I was in the dark, with the only source of light coming from a flickering fluorescent light on the ceiling in the hallway illuminating the capsule I was in through the face-sized window in front of me. I reached forward and touched the cold glass, and a dim light blinked on above my head. I was inside a body-sized metal container. My head was strapped into a sort of leather cushion that was attached to a rod, which swiveled along the curved back of the capsule, allowing me to move my head around. Directly in front of me, level with my waist, was a red lever with a sign beside it that indicated I should pull to open. As you can tell, I feel like I really like to start everything with descriptions of surroundings and the setting and stuff like that, which has always been something I've been really good at. I don't know if I could say that from this, but I really like description. Again, first draft, not the best. This was heavily inspired by Fallout, the game, specifically Fallout 4, where at the very beginning the bomb thing happens and then they're in the capsules and, they're in there and you see the baby. Anyway, so that's what it was kind of inspired by. And I didn't have, same with the other one, I didn't have a plot. What I do when I write is just, I have an idea or the line, like the first line or first paragraph, and I just write it, and I just start writing and see where it goes. And then I usually make it a few pages to a chapter before I'm like, I don't know where this is going, and give up. Which I did for both of these. So, that's my writing process. I also have, again, the beginnings of a book that I haven't finished. And this one is relatively recent. I think I started it maybe a year ago, or over a year ago, maybe a year and a half. This one is also kind of different. This was the first one that I had really worked on, like experimenting with third person. So it may sound a little awkward or weird maybe, and again, I haven't read this out loud, so I'm probably gonna catch a lot more mistakes. This is also the first one where I've written in the main point of view of a man instead of a woman. For some reason, all of my main characters have been female. This was the first one where I wrote with a male, and again, it doesn't really change much, you know, like it shouldn't the gender of a character shouldn't change like who they are as a person, or you know what I mean, because then you'd be writing, if you have to write a character differently because they're a girl, that probably means you're focusing too much on like the gender aspect, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna get into this right now. Long story short, this is just the first one I wrote with a dude. Not a big deal, it didn't change the writing or anything, but it was just kind of cool because I've always written girls for some reason. And his name is Ben, and I really like him. He's a good character. You're what? The words hung in the air between them, heavy like the sinking feeling in Ben's chest. The clock on the desk in front of him struck 4 o'clock, and he willed his heart rate to match the seconds. The man in front of him maintained eye contact, unaware of the panic unfolding in Ben's head. I'm sorry, Ben, but we have to let you go. He heard the words, but they didn't register fully in his mind. Somehow he had known this was coming. The sound of blood pounding in his ears was enough to make him want to throw up, but he swallowed the words he wished he could say and closed his mouth instead. Gripping the arms of his chair, he leaned back slowly, attempting to ease his racing mind. I'm gonna just stop there, just because it's more dialogue, and I'm not that great at reading dialogue. And that's the last one I'm gonna read, because I don't really have a lot of many others. Again, if you want, comment down below if you want to see another video where it's actual sort of embarrassing, cringy stuff, where I was a small person, a young writer. Not really, because I've been writing for a long time, but you know what I mean. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all wherever you are. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you guys in my next video.